Hey, welcome to MissouriNet.com. I'm Bill Pollock along with TJ Fenske from KRCG-TV in Jefferson City as we take our first look at Mizzou and UCF this Saturday, a morning kickoff at 11 a.m. TJ, let's start right away with Matty Mauk named the SEC Offensive Player of the Week, 5 touchdown passes. He ran for another, tied both of those school records for the 5 touchdown passes, 6 total touchdowns. And he said that, they're just starting to scrape the surface of how good this offense can be. What do you think of this Mizzou offense so far and the job that Matty Mauk has done in 6 career starts?
Well, I wasn't impressed after the South Dakota State game, but once again, proved wrong. Against Toledo, he really showed up. Maybe it was his home fans, being an hour away from Toledo. But he really stepped it up. You can kind of tell they learned a lot from week 1. And they kind of, I guess, left off from where they were last year. But Bud Sasser, Darius White, they all stepped up. Jimmy Hunt had 2 touchdown passes. They all had career numbers, I believe. So you got to be impressed. And Matty Mauk, he just created, making nice throws. He extended the play by running. I remember he had that one to Darius White where he was scrambling and ran and then kind of threw it over the defense. I was impressed. I hope they're just scraping the barrel because this team could be dangerous. 'Cause I had question marks about those wide receivers, so I was impressed.
That was the pass, the touchdown pass to Darius White. That was one earlier, and it may have even have been the same quarter where he was flushed out of the pocket and was running, and he had a receiver open, and it was like a 3rd and 9, I'm trying to remember. But he ran out of bounds or threw the ball away. Something happened, and I thought, man, he's got that guy open. He's got to look for that. And then later, sure enough, he had the defense coming in on him, and nice little touch pass, lobbed it in. White was wide open in the end zone. You're right. I think all the receivers had personal best, and they will because they were backups last year. And but Coach Pinkel talked about that yesterday at his media day and said, they knew what their roles were and they accepted it, and now it's time for them to move up. And we're talking about Jimmy Hunt, Darius White, and Bud Sasser.
No, exactly. Like I said, they knew their roles last year, and they have experience. They're all seniors. They've been around the program. They know the plays. They know what to expect, and they stepped it up. And I remember Darius White saying, Matty Mauk's kind of got another level. You may not see him practice well, but in a game, he just has a whole new level he can go to. He doesn't need anyone to, pump him up. He can do his own thing. And I think when those guys combine together, they can be pretty dangerous. Yeah.
You talked about, we're talking with TJ Fenske from KRCG. You talked about not being impressed with the South Dakota State game. He threw a touchdown pass to Bud Sasser. We both talked about how in the SEC that's probably picked off. Made a couple of bad decisions where he should have thrown the ball away. Got picked off twice against Toledo. But, where do you see his development? Is he kind of like a guy where, high risk, high reward, or is this just part of the learning curve for him? Or will he get better, or is this just going to be the type of guy he is?
This might sound funny, but I'm going to kind of compare him to Brett Favre. Brett Favre had those, he was high risk, high reward. He'd throw those interceptions, but he'd also throw, 5 touchdown passes in a game. So I think he can still improve, obviously. He's only a sophomore, and he'll have some great games, and he'll still improve his decision-making. He'll be better. But I think he likes to go for it all. He's kind of got that attitude, that moxie about him where, he'll go for that, that ball, and it might get intercepted, but he'll also, return it with 5 touchdown passes or kind of create the play and extend the play. So I think there's more improvement, but I think, Missouri fans should kind of see him as kind of a Brett Favre. He's going to be a great player, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've thought about that name as well. So, not that far off. What impressed me about Mauk was they started the 3rd quarter. The defense held Toledo to a 3-and-out. They put together a 13-play drive, ended up going up 35-7. He made the mistake. They scored a couple of touchdowns in a span of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and they kind of get themselves back in the game, or at least they grabbed the momentum. And then 2 long passes to Bud Sasser, and they're back in the end zone. That to me is tough for an offense, not just Mauk, but for an offense. When you go into a situation where you've got a big lead, you come out and you extend that lead by putting together this nice drive. You kind of slow things down a little bit. And then all of a sudden, you kind of lose some momentum, and you got to turn it back on. You saw several. You look at, like, for example, the Broncos and Indianapolis Colts. They're way up. Denver's way up, and then Indianapolis, gets a couple of touchdowns, this and that, and then you can't find that offense again. But for Mauk and that offense to have that ability to come right back in 2 quick scores, and you basically end the 3rd quarter tied with 2 touchdowns apiece, I thought that was an impressive part of Mizzou's offense.
Oh yeah, very impressive. And I almost think you got to give a little bit of the tempo of their offense to that as well. I mean, it's really unique. They can extend drives too. Go 10 plays, 70 yards for a touchdown, or they can go quick. I mean, they can, like I said, they have an up tempo. They can score in 3 or 4 plays if they want to, which is unique. That's a special attribute that only a few teams you see can do that. They don't let what the other offense is doing kind of affect them or steal the momentum. So I think that's just one I guess benefit of the Gary Pinkel's offense.
TJ Fenske from KRCG. Before we wrap up, I just want to talk about Marcus Golden and Shane Ray on the defensive line, the defensive ends, off to a great start. And I want to get your thoughts when we were sitting there listening to Coach Pinkel yesterday, because he said that when NFL scouts were coming to look at Michael Sam and Coney Ely, they told him something that was somewhat of a surprise to me. Maybe you can relay what Coach Pinkel said, and then I want to get your thoughts on
Okay.
what you think of the statement that NFL scouts made.
Yeah, well, we're sitting in the press conference, and Coach Pinkel said that some NFL scouts told him last year that he's like, I'd be more worried about the people behind Coney Ely and Michael Sam, Marcus Golden and Shane Ray as being, I guess, better players. And Pinkel was like, yeah, I tend to agree. Like, nothing against Michael Sam or Coney Ely, he said, but he was impressed with what he had coming up, and I mean, he's right. I mean, when we're interviewing Marcus Golden and Shane Ray, they're grown men. They're big, especially Marcus Golden. He's stocky, man. You don't want to get in front of him. So just physically, these guys, they're made to be defensive ends, and they've shown it on the field. I mean, even last year, I mean, they had big plays, and this year they're doing the same thing. And you got to debate it. It's tough to say so early in the year because Michael Sam, Coney Ely did have really good years. But they're kind of stepping it up. They're kind of setting the bar even higher now for the guys behind them. So it's been pretty interesting, and I have to kind of agree with the NFL scouts. They have the stats to back it up.
And then one final thing, one of the areas that's hurt the Mizzou defense has been giving up long runs. They've done that now against South Dakota State and Toledo. And Coach Pinkel talked about gap coverage, how the linebackers and D-line, they're not covering their gaps. We had a chance to talk to middle linebacker Michael Scher. He said that's probably one of the easiest things that you can fix. And he says once that gets fixed, he thinks that this defense can be really good. So for Mizzou fans who might be thinking, oh my gosh, we're a little weak against the run, he made it seem like, hey, this is something that can be fixed. And he thinks this defense is going to be really good. Your thoughts on Mizzou's defense two games in?
Yeah, I think it all has to do with communication, which it gets better throughout the year. And I remember last year after 2 games, Murray State and Toledo, everyone was all up against Missouri's defense not being able to stop the run. Murray State, and I mean even Arkansas State had success with the run. And then SEC play came, and the defense was outstanding. So I wouldn't take too much into it yet. But yeah, it's something that could easily be fixed. I don't see a problem with it yet. Although if we do get more into the season, it's still a problem, then I'd start to worry. But they have the defense, the defensive line, and the secondary to do it. So
I know a couple of years ago, it was a pretty tight game down in Orlando. It was a warm day, but Mizzou came out on top. No Blake Bortles there. I think this is a different team. They've got some talent, but in my opinion, this is another sure win. Just like I said, this would be a double-digit, 17-plus point win against Toledo. I don't know why Toledo got so much credit that they did before this game, and even during the game if you watched it on TV. But I think this is going to be another big one where Mizzou wins by 17 or more. Your thoughts?
I hope you're right. I said a 5-touchdown win against South Dakota State, and I was way wrong. But I mean, yeah, they don't have Blake Bortles. UCF, they returned 10 stars on defense. I remember you talking about the defense being a key for them. So it'll be interesting to see how Manny Mauk does. But I'm not worried about that. They've shown they can score points. So I'm gonna go 21 points, 3 touchdowns.
21-point victory. Wow. All right. So
I'm with you. I'm close.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see what happens here. So we're probably 1-1 on these picks so far. But I think Mizzou's just getting. Yeah, I think Mizzou's getting better, and I think back at home, I still think they have a lot to prove and a lot of football left before we get into SEC play. So, TJ Fenske of KRCG-TV out of Jefferson City. Thanks a lot for your time again.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill.
Yep, we'll have the early morning kick, and then we'll talk to you again next week as we get ready for, Indiana, right?
Indiana, yeah, for the Big Ten.
Yep. All right.
Which isn't really doing really well right now. But
No, I know. We'll keep that roll going here for Mizzou in a couple of weeks. So, all right. But first, UCF, and we'll get that out of the way. And, of course, coverage throughout the week here at MissouriNet.com. And we thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.